Go ahead.
Hey, welcome to this week's sermon preview here with Pastor Nick, going through our series of Jesus said statements when he was on the cross. So,
Absolutely.
Nick, kind of take us where we have been throughout this whole series.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are 4 weeks into this series. So we're looking at 5 of the different statements that Jesus made on the cross. So kind of treasuring these last words of Jesus. And we've talked about the first week, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." The second week was, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And then last week we heard a great sermon from Eugene Bontrager on, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And just the anguish that comes with that as Jesus cries out to his Father. And this week, it's actually going to be a little bit of maybe 2 phrases that Jesus says together. We're going to focus on one specifically, but we're going to be in John chapter 19, verses 28 through 30. And in this short passage, just a couple of verses, we actually see 2 phrases. So the first one that we see is, "I thirst." So Jesus says, "I thirst." So Lance, when you hear the phrase "I thirst," what do you think about when you hear that phrase?
Yeah, I just think, your mouth is dry, you're exhausted, there's a lot of fatigue, and you're just begging for that glass of water.
So the physical suffering that comes along with it. Right, exactly. So we have this physical suffering that comes with "I thirst." And then the second phrase that we hear is when Jesus, he says in this loud voice, "It is finished." Okay? And so when we hear the word "it is finished," we very much have this sense of victory or like a cry of victory, right? And so a really cool movement that we see in this passage is Jesus goes from suffering to victory, right? And we'll dig deeper into that in the sermon, but we have this kind of move from victim to victor within this, and there's so much depth into the phrase "it is finished," of like, what is it that Jesus finished, right? So many different facets of it that we'll dig into, like, what did he finish this? Did he finish this? What was it that Jesus finished in which he could cry, "It is finished"? Now, Lance, I do have a question for you. As you think about your life, and we think about this idea of "it is finished," what is a physical feat that you have accomplished in which at the end you could say, "It is done. It's finished. I accomplished it"?
Yeah, I think kind of right away, I think of my time down in South Carolina hiking the Chattooga Trail. So you're in the mountains, you're enjoying God's creation, and there were times, you thirsted. I mean, you were tired.
Yeah.
But the moment where you ended and you see that trail end, it's like, man, it's finished, and this massive accomplishment is happening.
Yeah, and whether you do it physically or internally, you have this kind of cry of victory of like, we did it, like we accomplished it. And I don't know if Jesus had this, but from our physical, frail human side, it's almost like a relief. It's done.
Yeah.
And I don't know for Jesus is if he had that as well. But so really cool. So we have this idea of Jesus yelling, "It is finished," in this cry of victory over so many different things, right? But also within that, there's a small facet, and we'll talk more about this as well on Sunday, but there's times in our human life we know that Jesus has finished it. He has accomplished it. He has done it, but yet we try and take some of that responsibility and put it on ourselves. I have to work to do this. But why? Jesus already did it. Or I have to do this in order to be good enough. But why? Jesus already did that. And so what I want you to be reflecting on this week as we lead into our time on Sunday is just this idea of when or what do we try to add to make it our own, right? When do we try to take responsibility from Jesus? Do we try to add something that has already been finished, right? And I would say Jesus finished it. Why would we want to mess it up with our own things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Why would we want to put our own addition to it and really just destroy it, right? Yeah. If Jesus finished it, it's perfect. It's done. Yeah. It's completed. We don't need to add anything or try to put any of our own on it. So just think about that. What do you try to add in order to make it your own when Jesus has already finished it.
Mm-hmm.
So should be a wonderful passage to dig through. So much depth to it. All of these phrases that we're seeing in this series, they're short, even just a couple words. Actually, this phrase, it is finished, it's one Greek word. Mm-hmm. It's only one word, but there's so much depth to it. So really excited. We actually have a couple, at least one really special thing that's happening this Sunday.
Yep.
You want to tell them about that a little bit, just as a reminder?
Yeah, so this Sunday we have our baby dedication, so looking forward to just going alongside those families and helping them in that way, just embracing the new life that's coming to our church.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So looking forward to that. I hope you are as well. We'll see you Sunday. Take care.
As in heaven, so on earth, my heart is drawn to self-exalting. Help me seek your kingdom first, as Jesus was.